Hello and welcome to this Game Week 20 edition of the FPL Scope podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mathias, and I'm finally back with both of my co-hosts, Kevin and Kimo. Kimo has been absent the longest because he's been in Egypt for almost 2 months. So welcome back, Kimo. How was your vacation back in your home country?
Thank you. The vacation was perfect. The lights shows that I look more white than I do. I got more tanned. So yeah, can't complain. 22 degrees, 25, sun, meeting old friends, family, watching the World Cup down there was a blast. It's really special. So really happy to be back. I missed you guys. I missed the FPL. I missed talking about Premier League. But the reality is saying that my team is struggling so bad. So I missed
Yep.
it. It's something, and the reality is something else. So we'll see. We'll see about that. I need to remember how good I usually do at the end of the season. So this is what I'm hoping for, to use some experiences.
Yeah, Kevin is also back. He's been in Sweden and he returned to London. And yeah, how was your time back home, Kevin?
Yeah, absolutely loved it. I was frustrated that I got sick during my time there. Unfortunately, this is one of those things that happens during the winter time, especially back home in Sweden. I feel like I always get sick around then. So, yeah, a bit unfortunate with that. But, there's been great football, obviously, before all this. We saw Messi win the World Cup and all that stuff. And I'm still buzzing over that, super happy for
Yeah.
Argentina and Messi. So, yeah, it's great to be back, even though Everton sucks. But here we are.
Yeah, Kimo said he was struggling, and Kevin and I are not doing much better as well. One of the reasons for that is the person that you can see in the picture, Phil Foden. Our first podcast together for Game Week 13, Foden was like the main guy to get during Game Week 13, but ever since then, he's just been awful. He's been benched by Pep pretty much every single game week. He's been frozen out, if you want. And yeah, so we're all struggling with him now. Kevin sold him actually a few game weeks ago, but Kimo and I both have him still. And we're both looking potentially towards selling him, but we'll get to that pretty soon. First, we're going to go through just the table of contents, what we're going to talk about today in this podcast. At first, we're going to do the Game Week 19 scores. Not many good scores for either of us, really. We all had different captains, we all had slightly different teams, and we all had the same pretty shitty result in the end. Especially for me, I had a couple major blemishes, but we'll get to that pretty soon. Then we'll take a look at the fixture ticker, look at the best teams to target, and currently Man City is the main team to target because they have both the best numbers in terms of XG and expected goals conceded, and they also have double game week fixtures, good fixtures in general, and they are pretty much the best team to target. It's just a matter of which player to get, and that's what we'll get to in part 3, which is our Make the Case or Players to Watch segment, where we look through the best Man City assets, not named Haaland or KDB. So we're going to challenge ourselves to find some interesting City assets, like as the third asset, or as like another asset if you can't afford KDB for some reason. After that, we'll be going to the weekly Wildcard Draft. This is the segment we do every week. Now that we're back regular schedule again, we'll do this every week. We wildcard a new squad every week just to show you like the ideal squad to have from this point and for pretty much like the next 5 to 10 game weeks, pretty much. And then finally, we'll wrap up with our Game Week 20 plans. There's a pretty big issue at hand this game week. This might be the first good game week to use your triple captaincy if you're going to use it, but we're going to have a discussion about that as well. So yeah, we'll see what we'll do for the upcoming game week. But first, we're going to go through Game Week 19, which is not very pleasant to watch. I'm going to go quickly through my own team, and as you can see, the one transfer made was terrible. It's probably my second biggest mistake this season after preferring Neto over Martinelli to start the season. But yeah,
You're punishing yourself, Mathias, so hard.
I know, but I'm gonna blame you guys for my mistakes. So it's fine.
No, but I think it seems like if someone comes from the outside, is looking at your team, like he choose to punish himself and choose like a bigger risk, like Darwin, Foden, Cancelo. You know this very well, and I know I have both Foden and Cancelo, but I mean, like, you precisely, like, you love to torture yourself. Nketiah as well, you know what I mean? It's like,
Nketiah has been good for me, so
what
that's
a what a shitty team.
one of the good things. But you're saying this, Kimo, but right before the deadline, after the World Cup break, I was asking you, should I go with Cancelo and Nketiah, or should I go with Laporte, who was also a terrible pick, and Darwin? If I did that, I would have had the 8 Almiron points the first game week. I would have had Darwin, so I wouldn't have to do the Kane to Darwin transfer. Everything would have been much better. So it's partly your fault, Kimo, but Kevin is not blameless either, because I went with Kane rather than Salah and De Bruyne like everyone else did at first, because I had Kane after the World Cup break, which was actually the good move. But then Salah scored big in the first game week 17, and then second game week, I thought, finally, this is when Kane will strike back. He plays at home against Aston Villa, who just got thumped by Liverpool, but they flopped. Spurs were terrible, and that's sort of why I made the transfer, because my line of thinking was I only want players that play for good teams. Spurs did not look like a good team, but obviously they played against Crystal Palace, which is why I should have kept a cooler head and just thought, like, okay, it's Crystal Palace. They have a double game week coming up as well, Spurs. I'm not a huge fan of double game week for Spurs, but we'll get to that pretty soon. And it's also the fact that I had 2 transfers, so I didn't want to waste the transfer. And my big mistake was obviously keeping faith in Foden and Cancelo and Trossard rather than keeping faith in Kane. But that's...
You would have deleted your team without Rashford, I guess so. I mean, it looks like Rashford saved the balance that someone like me who doesn't have it.
Yeah, it's Rashford, who's been amazing after the World Cup, and then obviously Gabriel and Trippier, who have been amazing for me all season. Those are like the main guys for me. Just to note of that as well, I made previous video is me going through my whole first half of the season, all the mistakes that I did, all the things that I got sort of correctly at first, but then it didn't pan out. It's just this whole season, like the Kane move is pretty much what has happened to me this season. Like, I've made like the initial like correct assessment, and then I have been like punished for it for some stupid reason. Like, players have been performing even though they haven't had the best underlying numbers. And then I've changed my position again, and then they've punished me again after I sold them or after I bought them in. But yeah, you can check out that video as well. Just me going through Game Week 1 to Game Week 19, going through all my past mistakes and stuff. It has been a terrible season, and I'm going to try to rectify it.
Past mistakes will start from getting to know us, both of me and Kevin.
Yeah. But anyways, that's enough of my team. I don't like looking at my Game Week 19 team. Let's move on to Kevin instead. Kevin, just take us through. You made a big punt, and then you were very much punished for it.
Yeah,
straight away.
Pretty much. Because I mean, because the initial thought was to get Shaw and Mount, which would have led to at least a 50-point game week, which I would have been more than happy with. And instead I went Sterling because of the storyline. You know, he's playing his old team. He's going to definitely take a pen if a penalty happens. Chelsea didn't look terribly. It's just that he got injured in like 2 seconds and then is out for the rest of the year. Well, no, he's out for a couple of months. Yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't the best assessment. Malacia, I just thought he might get to play. He had been playing quite a lot and is getting to play quite a lot, but he's going to be one of those Pep roulette sort of players that he won't get consistent minutes, but when he does play, it's usually at least 60 minutes. And yeah, unfortunately, yeah, I'm just very, very, very unlucky that that I went with Sterling and Malacia over Shaw and Mount, which it was what a lot of other content creators picked. And obviously it worked out for them, at least with Shaw, but not with Mount, because Mount didn't even start the game. So, yeah. And if Mount hadn't started, it would have been a nice vice captain on Rashford, if I believe so, or Haaland.
You like, I feel you. Sterling would have scored. The moment I was watching the game was Mathias in a bar, and the moment I saw that you have Sterling as a captain, I asked Mathias right away. He bought him just because he's gonna play against Pep.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
And he said yes, he did. And I was like, I got like a bad feeling in my stomach. He's gonna score. And then as soon as we opened the beer and then here you go.
Yeah, and I was away at football. Like I was playing five-a-side, and then like I just see a bunch of messages, and I'm like, this guy is like laughing at my face. Like he's just being very quiet about it, but he's definitely celebrating. And then it was just like, no, but Kimo is, and I was just like, oh, that's very nice.
Yeah, that's what you have friends for. But at least for you, the players that you sold, unlike me, the players that you sold didn't really perform either. So at least you didn't lose points from that. It's just you've put yourself in a pretty tough position now with your defenders. But we'll get to that when you come to the game week 20 plans.
Absolutely.
But yeah, any other comments to Kevin's team, Kimo, or what do you think about his team in general?
I think Kevin has been the most rational among us the whole season. But he also loves to be too smart at the moment. He combines between like the conservative team, and sometimes he cannot rest without doing something crazy. You know what I mean? And that's Sterling this time. No, but this is
sure.
This is the way the game should be. Like this is especially among the last few years. It's getting more difficult. More people and you have to find a way to do something crazy. So I like that. But I mean, like, if you had luck with the crazy moves, you would have been in a better place. But I mean, Martial, I don't know. Is doubling up United was a good idea, but not so many options on the attack. I have Martial myself, but I don't have Rashford. I actually should have done like you. We'll come to my team to do Rashford from the beginning. He was amazing.
Yeah. Before we go to Kimo's team, I just have one more comment, and that's just the fact that, as you can see, Aristobalaga and Sterling's not going to play, but Kepa is going to play another match. We're filming this on Wednesday, the day before Chelsea against Fulham, so we don't know how Kepa will play or how Kepa will score, and we already know that Sterling won't play, but I think that's also unfortunate for Kevin because he had obviously the reason for picking Sterling was the double game week, and he only got to play 4 minutes of the or 2 minutes of the one match, so it's really unlucky. But yeah, we'll see how Mount and the rest of those guys will play tomorrow, but that'll be after we've done this podcast. But anyways, here's Kimo's team. Kimo did no crazy moves, just stood still with 0 transfers made, and you still didn't get that much points. And obviously you have a different captain than both of us. I captained Haaland, Kevin captained Sterling, and you've captained Mitrovic, which was also kind of unlucky. So talk us through your team.
I mean, speaking about doing crazy things, I'm fed up of doing like the normal moves, and except my transfers this week, which we'll come to it later. But I mean, like, I was fed up. Okay, Mitrovic will score in both games. I'm sure of this. I have to go in my own way and just like ignore that Haaland might not score, which he didn't. You know what I mean? I didn't see the spark of City since the return of the Premier League. So yeah, he got the yellow card as expected. You know what I mean? So I should have gone with Rashford. He was amazing after the World Cup. He's still amazing. Yesterday he scored 2 goals. He even played like half an hour or less, and he's on fire. That's my biggest mistake. Trossard, that's something me and you share in common. A big failure. Foden and Cancelo, another failure. I don't know. It's like I have a headache. Look at the hospital on the bench. James Patterson. So basically, I had a gift of doing unlimited free transfers. I don't know. It was difficult to anticipate all this crisis.
Yeah.
At the same time, like, I mean, who would have thought that Foden is not gonna play? He was rested.
Yeah.
England didn't go all the way. The double up with Haaland, like the duetto with Haaland was amazing. Everybody's scoring, assisting each other, getting a lot of points. And I thought, okay, Kimo, just wait after the World Cup. You have to have both of them. They will explode. Get both of them and forget. You know what I mean? And then he doesn't start. It's not like the thing that he plays and he gets 1 assist or he take a yellow card or something. He doesn't start. So you never understand them. I'm not gonna mess with them again. So I am really not satisfied with my team. Salah didn't score, so it's really a week to forget. The only highlight is Trippier, 8 points. So yeah,
and everyone has Trippier now, so it's not even a highlight.
It's nothing special in my team.
I mean, to be fair, you got more captaincy points than both of us. That's why you're sort of equal on points, even though we both have Rashford and you don't. But yeah, to your point though, who could have seen this coming? Like Trossard, I still stand by that. That was a good move, considering what we've
Absolutely.
seen from Trossard earlier this season and just Brighton under De Zerbi.
Yeah.
They've scored 11 goals, I think, since the World Cup break. But just
Yeah.
Trossard, for some reason, he played 59 minutes in the first match, and then he doesn't play. Trossard is just
logical analysis. I think I've done everything right. You wanted to pick Foden before KDB because many people will go for KDB and just count as he will do as well as he did before the World Cup. You want to say, okay, Brighton is an attacking team. Not so many people will think of Brighton as an option after the World Cup. Everybody will think about the teams who has double, blah, blah, blah. Trossard didn't play, and so on, and so on, and so on. So, and actually, one person I had in my team before the World Cup starts as two people I had in my team before the World Cup starts was Trossard and Maddison. I thought Maddison will absolutely be mad. He was since the last season, but he got injured, so I wasn't gonna do anything otherwise. But yeah, frustration.
Yeah. That's just how it is. Sometimes also should also be mentioned with Cancelo and Foden that Cancelo played 45 minutes. They both started this match, but Cancelo was subbed off at the half, and then obviously Foden had to be subbed off right before the hour as well. So that's some more points lost from those guys. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the terrible game week 19. All of us struggled. We're not going to be saved from Andreas or Kepa or anything either. Everyone has those guys anyway. So let's just move on to the upcoming fixtures and the upcoming game weeks. So this is the fixture ticker. It's pretty huge now compared to what it was before the World Cup break. As you can see, Man City is the team to target. It's just a matter of who should you target, and that's something we'll get to pretty soon. They're both top for expected goals and expected goals conceded in the last 6 game weeks. They're number 1 in both categories. As far as number 2 in expected goals, you have Arsenal, who have been really good both ways. Arsenal are also number 3 in expected goals conceded. Number 3 in expected goals is Liverpool, who have been created a lot of chances, as most of us know. People that have Darwin, people that have Salah know that Liverpool creates so many chances, but they just can't seem to put them away. Except for in the cup when Darwin scores like a beauty of a goal after a Trent Alexander-Arnold pass. But the final team in terms of the best expected goals conceded are Newcastle, who have been amazing all season. They're also really good for expected goals, and they're also really good for matches. So Newcastle should still be in your minds in terms of creating a team. It's just a matter of double game weeks that will be coming along pretty much every game week now, almost. So this game week we have Man City and Spurs playing each other in double game week, and we also got the additional fixture of Man United against Crystal Palace. So we have 4 double game week teams this game week. And some of them have really good options. Man United and Man City, as you can see. Spurs and Palace don't have the best matches. Spurs have the worst matches, actually, even with the double game week. But we all know Wilfried Zaha can score pretty much any time. And he can blank pretty much every time. And that's why he's such a big troll, and we can't really trust him. But anyways, none of us have Zaha, so we won't be thinking that much about him. But is there anything else that sticks out to you in terms of the fixture ticker, Kevin? You want to talk about any teams in particular?
Yeah, I think Brighton, despite the fact that you guys have Trossard and all that type of stuff, I think if you guys saw Big Mac, his goal in the cup, where he scored like basically in tennis terms, it's a tweener, but basically like a klack, which is what we say in Swedish, but like a back heel sort of thing between the legs, like that, like as if it was nothing as well, which was just wow. Like that guy has been riding high since the World Cup. I think Brighton have played really fun football. They concede a lot, but we don't really care about that. We're more considering the fact that they have a lot of good attacking options, including Trossard if he got to play. But Ferguson against Everton looked like an absolute star. Mitoma has looked absolutely great, who Mathias has always been high on. McAllister, again, looked good in the cup, and I think he'll translate that into Premier League play. He's also their penalty taker as well. So, yeah, I think Brighton have a lot of really easy matches. They have a potential double game week coming up as well. So yeah, I mean, Leicester, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Fulham. I mean, Liverpool at home isn't great, but we all know that can end a high scoring draw. So yeah, I think Brighton are a team to keep an eye out on.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. Liverpool isn't great. It's listed as like one of the harder, tougher fixtures in this, but I'm actually pretty close to downgrading Liverpool at home to be, or upgrading, I guess, to an easier fixture, because they've shown that away from home they haven't been good this season, and they showed it just now against was it Brentford? Lost against Brentford. So that might even be a better fixture for Brighton than what it seems like on this fixture ticker table. And then, like you said, they might have a double game week in 21, and they might have a double game week in 23 as well as that. And it's Crystal Palace and Bournemouth, I think, are the teams that they have yet to play, like the postponed fixtures that they have. So if you put in Crystal Palace and Bournemouth in game week 21, game week 23, and you also upgrade Liverpool to be an easier fixture, they go to the very top of the fixture ticker. So it's a good observation from you, Kevin, that Brighton are a really good team to target, because they might have the double game weeks. They might have an easier time against Liverpool at home, especially offensively. We've already seen them put 3 past Liverpool at Anfield. Trossard, coincidentally, scoring all 3 goals. But anyways, they've shown that they can score against Liverpool before the season, and at home it should be even easier. So Brighton players are certainly in consideration this week, and especially going forward as well with the double game weeks after that. So yeah, Brighton are a really good team to target. As you can see, they have a lot of expected goals conceded, but they also have pretty decent expected goals. So yeah, Brighton players are really good to target. Is there any team that stands out to you, Kimo?
I think I have lost my connection for a while.
A little issue there, I saw.
Can you hear me well?
Yeah. As far as for me, I can, while you're fixing your issues, Kimo, for me, obviously the top teams, Man City and Newcastle, they have been the 2 best teams alongside Arsenal, have been the 2 best teams. Should also be mentioned with Arsenal, they have a double game week in 23. They might also get a double game week in 21. And that might even be against Everton, I believe, which would be really, really good, because as you can see, Everton, to Kevin's dismay, are bottom 3 in both categories in terms of expected goals and expected goals conceded. So tripling up on Arsenal also is another great option. I know Ødegaard he's been on my mind at least. We're going to get to our plans pretty soon, but Arsenal are also a really good team to target, and you should keep in mind the potential double game week fixtures coming up. But yeah, I don't know. You can. Are you okay to speak, Kimo? Or
I'm okay to speak. I'm just. I think I lost the connection to my camera and my mic, and I'm trying to retrieve back. And it happens, you know.
Yeah, some technical issues after the World Cup. It's been a long time since Kimo was podcasting.
Yeah, so I am rusty as a manager, as you've seen my team.
Rusty as a manager, rusty as a podcaster.
I think I'm back.
Yeah, it looks pretty good now. So anything that sticks out to you in terms of this fixture ticker, Kimo?
Leeds. I was gonna speak about Leeds. Yeah. Trying to improve your ranks, I think, is planning ahead and trying to jump on opportunities before everyone else. And I think 2 teams here are having a really good fixtures: Brentford and Leeds. The only issue of Leeds is Aston Villa. Which Aston Villa is going to be?
It's true.
Yeah, the defensive, conservative Unai Emery, or like the unexpected flop of Aston Villa as usual. So, but Leeds is an attacking team, and I think I've read a stat somewhere that the minutes per goal for Rodrigo is much higher than minutes per goal for Rashford or most of the midfielders in the Premier League right now. So, something like that. He didn't play a lot of games and he scored a lot of goals. So he's really something, you know what I mean? But he can also disappoint, and Kevin is a good example of this. He's been burned by Rodrigo many times, but he's been also rewarded. And Brentford, like, look at the fixtures: Bournemouth, Leeds away, Southampton, which Southampton are a shitty team. It's like, I wish City is going to play, not City and Southampton have a bad history, but I mean, like, if Liverpool playing against Southampton, most of the teams, they will win comfortably 4 or 3-0. So with injury of Ivan Toney, do I really trust Mbeumo? Do I really trust the other guys? I don't think so. And defensively, there is no point for me to to choose someone from Brentford. But if you go early on Rodrigo, which is what I'm trying to do in the next weeks, I am thinking of bringing him this week as well. But we'll see. But does he worth a -4? You never know. It depends. But the only thing that they're playing at Friday at 7 p.m. I've had like a really bad memory with this fixtures always. It's always like a 0-0, 1-0, you know what I mean? It's never something big. So I usually don't bring a punt on a Friday night Premier League game. Especially the last game was 1-0 and 0-0 between them. So but before that it was a 3-3 and 4-0 to Leeds. So yeah, you have to guys help me to gather my thoughts on this. Other than that, I don't see like a good fixtures. West Ham, the next two is all right, but Leicester City as well, they have like a decent run, but yeah.
Only thing that should be mentioned in terms of West Ham is that Jared Bowen loves to play against Wolverhampton. He showed that earlier this season, where he got his one big haul this season was against Wolverhampton. He's also been like one of the most underperforming players in terms of expected goals, but as a West Ham fan, I can tell you shouldn't back West Ham at the moment. It's going really badly for West Ham. And as you can see, the matches after the two matches, they play Wolves and Everton, fair enough, easy matches, but then they have Newcastle, Chelsea and Spurs. So pretty tough matches after that. Kevin, looks like you have something on your mind.
Easy match, huh? I still fully expect us to somehow get 3 points against you guys. You guys are garbage.
But guys, one question. What about Aston Villa?
Aston Villa.
I mean, look at the goal conceded, expected goals conceded for Leeds.
Yeah.
And Southampton as well, the next, and Leicester. I mean, wow. I mean,
yeah, it's just a matter of who do you pick from Aston Villa. I thought about Ings right before the World Cup break, but he hasn't been playing much. It's been Watkins, and Watkins, known FPL troll as many other players are, but can we trust Watkins? Can we trust anyone else? Like, I remember Ramsey was like one of the major players before the season. He's been nowhere this season. Coutinho has been nowhere this season. Bailey, I guess, like for a cheap buck, but I can't really see where the goals will be coming from for Aston Villa, to be fair. I don't know about you, Kevin. Do you have any input on Aston Villa? What have you seen under Emery so far?
I mean, I was impressed initially, and then I was just like, wow, they are so inconsistent, and I could see them being one of the teams that they're currently 11th. They could definitely fall lower if they keep up this inconsistency, because whilst I think Everton, Wolves, and Southampton, who are currently the bottom three, have been so bad, I'm not impressed with Aston Villa at all lately. I think they went out in the cup, didn't they?
I think they might have, yeah.
Yeah, like 2-0 or something random like that, and just didn't look inspired and everything like that. Again, new manager, new signings and stuff like that, because they've already signed Alex Moreno, who's really good, but that leaves them with 3 left backs who are all semi-decent. Well, Augustinson isn't that good, but Digne is, for example, and I think there's just a lot of headaches with Aston Villa right now. So personally, and considering the matches that they have, Leeds, yes, could easily be like a match where they bounce back, but you don't know if it's Watkins or Ings who's starting. Southampton away, Southampton are garbage and they have to win that game. So I think that's fine. And then Leicester, it can be hit or miss. It depends which Leicester decides to show up, and then the rest of the games is just terrible. So
all the teams concede goals, Kevin. I think all the games, it depends on how you see Aston Villa, but I think all the 3 teams will concede goals from Aston Villa. And I think I disagree with you. I think they are not stable. Yes, I agree, but they have improved quite a lot under Unai Emery. And you personally, you were supporting Emery.
Yeah, of course. I don't think it's Emery that's the issue. I think it's the players themselves who have been underperforming and stuff. Like, I think if you have like Coutinho, who can't seem to get a minute right now, you have Douglas Luiz, who's been like their only solid player, Kamara coming on and off the bench, then Ollie Watkins, who was like the English Darwin, big chances missed and stuff like that. Like it's a bit strange. I
I,
think
I like the English Darwin. It's really cool.
because like
What about like a crazy idea for those who have Mitrovic like me?
yeah.
And I also need your opinion about that, Matthias. If you would replace Mitrovic with Ings for the next 3 and buy Mitrovic again when he has Nottingham first.
You just need.
It just depends on Ings and his playing time, really. I mean, he scored the last game now against Wolverhampton. He got
But
like
he's
a short
explosive.
cameo, but
He's explosive.
he is explosive. If he was given game time, like for sure, if Watkins was injured, for example, then yes, I would go for it. But because he's probably not going to play all 3 matches, I think at most he'll start 2 of them, and that's being generous. I think he's going to start 1 of them probably, and then be benched in the other 2. I don't think I would go there personally. I mean, you mentioned Brentford earlier, and that's like the big option. Kevin and I talked about this a couple podcasts ago, that if Tony was fit and the whole betting scandal was over, he would have been like the main guy to get right now. But
100%.
in terms of Mitrovic replacements, other options you can go for. I mean, Leeds don't really have proper, like Rodrigo's listed as a midfielder. They have Gnonto, who's been really good, been playing for them, but that's pretty out there. I mean, you have Ferguson for Brighton, who might be a decent option for a cheap buck, especially if you have a good bench, but you don't have a good bench, I know. So not that many good options, to be honest. It might be Arsenal. I have Nketiah personally. I'm pretty happy with Nketiah, keeping him. Newcastle, Alexander Isak, Callum Wilson. I think those guys are better options than Ings.
Okay.
If you have the money. I don't know. Calvert-Lewin, Kevin, would you back him in the next 2 matches? Scamacca, Kimo, can I sell you on Scamacca?
I definitely think Calvert-Lewin is someone to definitely keep an eye out for. Yeah, for sure. Especially if we get Danjuma in as well, who's been heavily rumored to us, and we're trying to sign. I think those 2 together could be really good.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't think there's. I mean, if Ings was playing, like I said, he'd be an amazing option. That's 100%. Why I thought about him personally. But
what about Zaha?
Yeah, he's not a striker though, so you can't really. Or in this game, at least, he's not a forward. So.
No, but I mean, like, what about Zaha?
In general, I would not bring him in. But if you have him, then you should definitely keep him.
But we have a bet that he's going to score, huh?
I think he's
most likely. I mean, Chelsea are not that good, as you can see in the expected goals and expected goals conceded. They have really bad expected goals, at least, but that wouldn't help Zaha that much. But Crystal Palace have also been terrible all season. But
Zaha is one of those criticism players. Like, whenever he gets criticized, he always turns up. And he outed FPL content creator who does like punditry for Sky Sports and stuff. Dissed his shirt, dissed his analysis of the situation that he might end up staying at Palace because no one is interested in him. And Zaha, kind of exploded on him on Twitter and stuff like that. So I could definitely see him perform. And he also did a Instagram post, which sort of signaled the fact that Tottenham and Chelsea were interested, which he now Zaha has deleted. So I think the guy loves the storyline. So yeah, I'd say if you're really down at the dumps, want to go for a crazy move, yeah, he could potentially be scoring against his new employers in Chelsea. He hates Man United with the passion. So yeah, definitely. I think it's not the worst punt in the world. It's just, if you think logically and everything like that, yes, everything's against Crystal Palace in terms of the next fixtures, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if Zaha ends up being the one who scores.
Yeah, I think if you want to go for a punt at striker rather than Mitrovic, but that's also beside the point that I think Mitrovic is fine to just keep. He has shown that he can score against any team this season, so I don't feel like he's that big of a deal to get rid of if you have him already. I wouldn't bring him in, of course, but I mean, Newcastle away is a difficult match, but you can probably bench him anyway with all the double game week fixtures anyway. Spurs at home, decent fixture. And then Chelsea haven't been that good either. And then obviously you said you would bring him back for game week 23. So I think Mitrovic, keeping him is perfectly fine. But if you want to take like a punt on some weird player, then I'd probably go with Gnonto for Leeds, who's been playing 60 plus minutes in the 3 matches now after the World Cup break. He's Italian. Both me and Kimo are big fans of Italy. And he scored against West Ham now, just now as well. So I think he's like 5.1 or something like that. So if you want to go for a punt with one of those teams, then I think he might be the one. But I think keeping Mitrovic is fine, really. It should also be noted with Leeds, they don't have the best numbers for expected goals and expected goals conceded, but you should keep in mind that they've played, I think they played Liverpool, City, and some other big team, Spurs, I think, in the last 6 game weeks, so that might skew the numbers a bit as well. So you should keep that in mind when it comes to the numbers. But that's my guess, that's my hint, tip, if you want to go for differential rather than innings. But yeah, anything else you guys have to say about the fixture ticker, or should we move along to make the case?
We can move along. I just saw a video of McAllister at training where he let some kids hold his medal. Man, I'm totally going to transfer him in.
Okay, we'll get to that pretty soon. But first, before we get to the transfer plans, we're going to be making the case for the best City assets apart from Haaland or De Bruyne. So as you can see, we've all picked a player each. I'm number 1 pick this week. We're going to switch this up every week. The graphics might be a bit different next week because of that, but we'll get to that next week, I guess. So I've picked number 1 this week, and I have gone with Nathan Ake. I think he's my favorite option out of the rest of the City players, and that sort of says something about the City options other than Haaland and De Bruyne. Pep Roulette is back in full force, so I feel like you got to go with someone who's sorta nailed to start. Ake is by no means like completely nailed, but he has, as I've listed in one of the pros, he is versatile. He can both play at the left back position or the center back position, so he can play both of those positions. So if, for example, if Ruben Diaz comes, he's going to come back within like the next 2 weeks, I think. Laporte is also already about to be back. That's my negative for Ake. If both of those guys come back and they're solidified in center defense, at least Ake can play on the left back spot compared to someone like Stones, who Kimo will be making the case for pretty soon. Stones can only play center back. So if Diaz and Laporte are back to being like the main guys, they also have a Kanji, obviously, to play there as well. I think Ake can be moved on to the left, as he's shown time and time again. Pep has been really complimentary towards Ake. Ake was really good in the World Cup for Netherlands. And I also think in terms of him versus Stones, which is sort of more comparable than him versus Foden, I think Ake has the better attacking threat. He's shown that throughout his career. He's a pretty good goal scorer for a centre-back, Ake. So even though it doesn't bear out in the numbers after the World Cup break, because they have pretty similar numbers, Ake and Stones, I think Ake is the better attacking threat, and he's also cheaper. So
actually, Pep praised him some days ago or something. He talked about him especially, and he gave him like a long praise or some people under appreciating his work and so on. So it says something about he's nailed. Yeah,
I think Ake is really good. I think Stones is really good as well, but it's just they have a lot of really good centre backs, City. So I'd rather go with the guy who can play at left back as well. Anyways, that's my case for Ake.
I'm just laughing because I just read the expected goals involvement for Foden.
Yeah, but also the shots, is this real? Shots in the box and chances created 11?
No, this is sorry, this slide is not updated. I actually fixed it, but no, that's someone else's stats. Sorry about that. That's not supposed to be that way. I think
I was like, I'm buying.
Yeah,
that's not correct. The minutes are correct though. The last 3 game weeks, he has played 79 minutes and he has produced 007 in terms of expected goals involvement. I think he has 0 shots in the box and 1 chances created, or the other way around. I can't even remember.
That makes way more sense.
That makes a lot more sense. So that is not his correct number. So good thing that you pointed out, Kevin. Even though it goes against your case, but make the case for Foden now. With that in mind,
he has 8 goal attempts. He has 8 goal attempts. He has 5 shots inside the box. He has
in the last 3 game weeks.
In the last 4 game weeks.
Do the last 3 and then.
Yeah, so 8 goal attempts, 5, still really, really far away from my dreams, and he has 0.6 expected goals involvement. That's like very close to Ake and Stones. But yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Make the case for Foden.
I have him. Matthias have him. Please come.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So
Tell him.
my make the case for him is simply that, you know, he's a big match player in a lot of the big matches where you think last season, this season, you know, he's done some crazy things, including the Man United hat trick, which was unbelievably selfish from him, because if you think about some of the goals that he scored, he could have easily just passed it to Haaland and did it, which I think is vital in FPL as well, simply because you want your player to score rather than him assisting it to someone. So I think there's so much potential for Phil Foden. He did really well for England after being benched the first game for England, and then eventually playing his way into the starting 11. And I think, unfortunately, somewhere there with Pep, maybe pressures with having to play Grealish, considering the fact that they spent 100 million on Grealish, and the fact that Grealish then gave some returns and stuff like that. There's been a lot of hullabaloo over what to do with Foden and stuff like that. But now Grealish is sick, so I think that also plays in favor for Foden. I think we all know how good he can be. We all know how explosive he is, because he's such a high ceiling player when he does play and does well and stuff like that. It's just that the minus is just so huge, which is Pep Roulette. And I totally see why you guys are gonna like throw that in my face in terms of him being a City asset in that sense, because he can't even come off the bench properly. Like, because when he does, it's like 5 minutes to go and 19 minutes and all this bullshit. So I totally understand your frustration with him, but I think you guys should hold out. I think now that it's the big games, now Pep is done screwing around, you know, losing to Brentford and all this bullshit. It's time to play him.
Would he play?
I personally think Foden, at least one of those games, Foden's 100% going to play.
100%.
100%. Okay.
Wait. Okay, I can confirm this.
That's
okay?
haram. That's how you cannot say.
Yeah,
you cannot say 100% was.
Okay. You know what? I gotta say with chest, I think Phil Foden will start one of those games. He might come off the bench against either or, but he's going to be starting one of those games.
I think how many times Pep Guardiola has done this, that he made someone that to look out like he's gonna play. It's surely his game. So difficult. And I'm really curious to know the lineup for today. Just wait a minute. It's Alvarez, Palmer, Grealish, Foden starting. Okay, that does it for me. Foden is starting against Wolverhampton.
Oh, so Grealish is playing, because he is meant to be.
FA Cup. No. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this myself.
But Cancelo, Walker, Laporte are all playing as well, which is
bench in the league.
Yeah.
Gundogan, Foden, Palmer, Alvarez, Grealish. Who's on the bench? Ederson, Ake, Haaland, Rodrigo, De Bruyne, Bernardo, Kanji, Mars, Lewis. Oh God.
Yeah, it's not looking good for. It's not looking good for Foden himself.
It definitely.
No. Okay. Let me put it this way.
You definitely. It smells bad for the next.
If Foden scores or something like that, I can see him starting. Foden's gonna get a hat trick, and then he's gonna be like, okay, I gotta start him.
Kevin, you're trying to make like the most possible theory to convince us.
I think Kevin is just trolling us. Kevin sold Foden 2 game weeks ago, and he's just trying to make us stick with him. Going to make us suffer.
What do you think?
No. I'm genuinely considering bringing in a City midfielder. It's just the question of who.
Matthias,
I think it's Foden.
I mean, just looking at the bench, the lineup just released as we are recording this, and looking at the bench, it's just basically like the bench is just full of players that will start the next match. So Rico Lewis is on the bench, Ederson, Akanji, Haaland, Rodrigo, Bernardo, Mahrez probably, he might be a better option as well. So Mejres, sorry for the pronunciation. So I don't know. Like Kevin said though, it depends what happens with Foden. If he plays like the perfect thing, when it's like a cup game right before a league game, and your player that you have in your team is playing, you want them to score like 2 goals and then get subbed off after 60. If they do that, there's a good chance they'll start the next game. But like Kevin said, he only needs to play one of the matches. If he's benched against Man United, then maybe he plays against Spurs. So that's the question. Like, will the players starting against Man United also play against Spurs? Or will they switch it up? Or will probably Grealish rest against Man United and then he play against Spurs? I don't know. It's hard to know, really. So as a guy who has both Foden and Cancelo, I'm sort of like... I'm still as confused as always if I'm going to sell either one of them. We'll get to that pretty soon. But first, Kimo will have to make his case for Stones, who's obviously not starting today, and is therefore in line to start in the league matches. So
here you go. I don't need a case. I think he's nailed. Pep cannot risk you to make jokes with the defense. He played the last 6. He's cheap. He's better than Cancelo. He's he's as good as Ake, and I don't think I'm gonna make a case for him to score some goals or something. It's very unpredictable with City defense. But I think how often do we get like City playing 2 games in 1 week, or like having a double game week? So I think it says what it says. In the next 5 games he's gonna play. In the next 3 game weeks he's gonna play 5 times. So I think Stones is nailed. So not so much to say here. Just like Foden, how do I find out which game are you going to start? But have you read that statement that Pep said about that he's gonna do some crazy moves against United? Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. I just saw it now.
Yeah, now what did he say? Literally in English.
In English, he said, let me just find the tweet again.
Just while Kevin is looking, I'll ask you, Kimo. Stones compared to Ake, then. But do you think, is it only because you have 3rd pick and I already picked Ake that you went with Stones?
I think attacking-wise, Ake can snitch a corner or something. I think so. He's good with this. He scored so many goals before.
So you think Ake is a better option than Stones? Just
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just you couldn't pick him, so that's why.
Yeah.
Kevin, you got the quote?
But it doesn't really count as make a case this podcast because there's not so many cases. I could have made a case for Zaha as we talked like some days ago that he's fed up with the winter or something. It could have been a case, you know what I mean? He's bored, you know what I mean? So he wants to score goals, but I think it's just like to find out the truth of. I think Maher is gonna play both games on the right side.
Then maybe you should have made a case for him.
Yeah, but just think louder with me. On the right side, Maher is going to play. He's giving him a game time. He's not going to play today at all because he's going to start 90 minutes against United and Tottenham. Striker is Haaland. To the left, is it Grealish or Foden?
I think it could be Big Phil. Especially if he scores. I think it could be Big Phil. But it could be Julian Alvarez. I have no idea at this rate.
Okay, if he doesn't start Foden, if he plays 4-3-3, and if he doesn't start Foden, who would he start? Who plays on the left? Is it Bernardo or?
It's either Bernardo or Grealish.
Bernardo or Grealish. So Bernardo's not in the midfield 3.
And if Alvarez scores a hat trick, I could see Alvarez playing. Like, that's the thing. Pep. This is what Pep said, word for word. Okay?
What did he say?
I have a few ideas, thoughts, ridiculous ones against Manchester United. But I still didn't watch the last games. I have to see the way they play at home and if they change something. That is why I don't have a clear lineup against United.
Of course he doesn't have a clear lineup.
He's a fucking genius. Okay, go ahead.
He's such a troll.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Was that the quote? Was that the whole quote? Or is there
that was the whole quote.
That was the whole quote. Okay.
That was the whole quote.
So, the ridiculous word is ridiculous in itself.
Okay, so we've touched upon it a bit as we've been talking and making the case. But is there any other player apart from these 3 that you could make a case for? I mean, Kimo, you mentioned Mathias for the winger spot. Is he like the main guy apart from these guys? Alvarez, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, any of these guys? Rico Lewis, for example. Do any of these guys?
I wanted
Tempt you?
to bring Rico Lewis, and someone called Mathias told me not to. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I think he's gonna, like Kevin thinks with Foden. I think Rico Lewis will start one of the matches and potentially get rested for the other one. I think it's just Kyle
Well, okay.
Walker
Why would they get rested?
because they play against Man United and Spurs, and that's on the right back position. That's going to be against Son and Rashford, so they might need someone rapid like Kyle Walker, like you saw in the World Cup for England when he played against Mbappe. They put him in at right back.
But he doesn't play as a pure wing. It's like, yeah, he use him in the midfield. I don't know.
Yeah, but they're not playing like. I think Lewis has been mostly like sort of like a defensive midfielder almost in attack for them. He hasn't really been like bombing up and down the side. Cancelo played right wing to have that position last game.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm not so sure about Lewis. Obviously the cheap price and all that stuff. He's a decent player to have in terms of just having in your squad. But I don't think I would do like a -4 to bring him in as a defender. So I think it's just. Yeah, he might do something, but I don't feel like he has proven enough in terms of goal threat as well. It's just a clean sheet. Like, I think he'd be very, very, very lucky to play 60 plus in 2 matches and get 2 clean sheets, especially considering the opposition. So I don't think it's worth a -4 to bring Rico Lewis in. But apart from him, any other players that stand out? Kevin, do you have any other potential targets? Would you consider someone like Alvarez, Mathias? Would you?
I think, yeah. Riyadh is, of course. I mean, he has been playing really well. But it's the most Pep thing to not be like, you're a bench buddy. Like, I've seen it happen so many times. Like he scored a hat trick, and I'm like, oh, I'll bring him in because he's such a given to play. And he's like, nope, I'm not going to play him. So I think, some we haven't mentioned at all. If you want to really play it safe, even though we've internally discussed that it's a bit of a waste of time considering the price point, you could get Ederson if you think that they're gonna, keep a clean sheet and you're so desperate for someone who's going to start. Of course, Ederson's going to start both games, but we all think that they're going to be conceding. The reason we want an Ake or Stones is because they have the potential to score, which they easily could do and have been doing for City as of late. So, yeah, I mean, I guess Grealish, if you want to really risk it for a biscuit as well, because he has been getting a few assists, the goals will come as well. I personally believe, because I think Grealish is one of those overrated, underrated players in the sense that we definitely know he has the ability. It's just maybe that City might be too high a level for him, considering the expectations that they have. But we all know that Grealish is capable of doing damage. Yeah. I think if you really, really, really want to put it out there, Gundogan has a good record against all these teams. Actually, both teams, Man United and Spurs. But again, way too risky. One of these 3 guys will suffice. It wouldn't surprise me if all of them don't play.
Yeah, it's hard to know really for sure. But yeah, just as I think that's a pretty good example that the third City asset, apart from Haaland and De Bruyne, is really difficult to choose because he's not an option in these 3. I'm considering Mahrez myself now, just after all we've been talking about. So it's really hard to pick out one guy to have as the third guy. So I might even just skip the triple City entirely and just have double City. But we'll get to that pretty soon. But yeah, we've talked about the Man City assets extensively now, so we'll move on to the next part of the podcast, which is the weekly Wildcard Draft. We're starting here with a clean slate with a completely blank team, no players selected. I'll be picking first, Kevin will be picking second, and Kimo will be picking third. And as far as the budget goes, we've used my own team, and my own team value is pretty terrible at the moment. It's 100.9, and I don't have money invested in Haaland because I sold him when the leaks came out that he wasn't starting before the World Cup break. So everyone should be able to afford this team, even if you're a newbie. You should be able to afford this team. So it's a really affordable team, but it's still a pretty good team, I think. We picked this yesterday. Kimo was over at my place, and we called Kevin, and we did the wildcard draft then. So I'm just going to go quickly through the team, and we'll basically brush through like the main players that you already know about, and then we'll talk a bit more about the more interesting players in the wildcard draft. So first guy, not interesting at all. It's Haaland. We'll get to the whether you should captain him or triple captain him thing eventually. We won't do that here, but that will come pretty soon. But I think he's most people's captain. Some people might go with another player that will come up in this wildcard draft. De Bruyne, Kevin picked Kevin De Bruyne. His namesake also makes a lot of sense. He's the nailed guy for City. He hasn't really performed after the World Cup break in terms of goals and assists, but he has had pretty decent underlying numbers, and we know he's one of the few dependable City players, at least we hope. We never know with Pep. That might be one of his ridiculous ideas to bench De Bruyne against Man United, but most likely he's going to start both matches and be pretty good and have a good chance at creating chances or scoring goals even. Kane, Kimo picked Kane. I think you can elaborate a bit more on Kane. For me personally, just before you talk Kimo, I sort of consider, even though he has a double game week, it's against Arsenal and Man City, who have been amazing this season. Spurs have been terrible in big matches. So for me, I sort of count this as a single game week for Kane. Even though it's 2 matches and you get at least 4 appearance points, I don't think the chances of scoring is higher than playing a single game against like Nottingham Forest, for example. So what's your case for Kane as like the freemium player in this squad?
I don't think you can never predict a derby based on the performance. That's why the Arsenal game for me, it's very open. Don't you agree, Kevin? It's like can be
100%.
Yeah, it can be 4-3. It can be 3-0 to Tottenham. It can be 2-0 to Tottenham. It can be 4-1 to Arsenal. You never ever predict a derby between 2 teams in one city based on the current performance. That's one point. A City, I was not impressed by the City defense recently, before the World Cup and after the World Cup. So, like based on Kane, he has penalties. He can score from corners. He can shoot. So I think he's a big player, and if he proved one thing this season, he proved consistency, both at the World Cup and in the Premier League. And if Haaland didn't exist in the Premier League this year, Kane would be the big thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we said this before. So I think he has a high chances to score in all the games. So for me, Arsenal can be 2-2. I actually predicted 2-2.
Yeah,
Kevin.
Like I would say, simply have Kane simply due to the Arsenal match, because he always scores against them. Like I think, especially the fact that they're playing at home as well, like he was saying, definitely could see it being slightly more favorable to have him. And again, with City, like you were saying, defense is leaky. He has to perform in these games, but it's also the fact that he's on a crazy record streak form. All these English players are. Rashford's doing that. Saka's been doing that, and now Kane's been doing it as well. So I think
last year as well, Tottenham was on a slightly lower or as good rank as Arsenal at the time where they played the decisive game at the new Tottenham stadium. Where it was like 3-1 or something like this. Kane and Son scored. So if you've seen Arsenal before the game, Arsenal is solid, you know what I mean? They're
of course,
more closer to the Champions League than Tottenham, and so I'm really convinced that Kane is the right option. I'm not gonna guarantee that he's gonna do well, because you never know. I don't own him myself, so I don't wish that he does well for the people who own him. But at least it's a logical choice to go with.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense for me as well. It's just the Arsenal that he has been facing all these years. It's not the same Arsenal that he's facing now. But as you said, it's a derby. Anything can happen. So definitely, City as well can concede against anyone. And Spurs under Conte last season showed that they can beat City. They beat City twice, I think. So they have the record as well in their favor. So Kane is a decent option, and you made a case for him now. Move on to my next pick, which is Rashford. Just makes sense, really. He's in top form. He's pretty much should be in every team sheet. Kimo looking to bring him in probably as well.
Yeah.
Not much else to say about him. Shaw as well has been amazing. We all regret not bringing in Shaw earlier.
Yeah.
Man United, they get a double game week now. They might get a double game week next game week.
Mm.
Shaw's been nailed. He's been really good since the World Cup and all that stuff. So it just makes a lot of sense. We come to another Kimo pick, which is Rodrigo. You've mentioned Leeds previously as well, but you can make any even further case for Rodrigo and Leeds right now, Kimo, if you want.
I mean, my case for Rodrigo based on the next 3 fixtures: Villa, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, and also they have Everton game number 5. And he scored 10 goals in 19 game weeks, which he didn't play some games of it, and he was injured and so on. So it's easy. The guy is a stat killer, and if they're gonna score, of course, by the surprise element, there are so many players in Leeds that they. What is his name? The other guy that he scored against Liverpool, the short guy, the young guy.
Yonto?
No.
Somerville?
Yeah, I think so.
Crescencio Somerville.
So yeah, it's either him or that guy who's going to score goals for Leeds. And I barely see Leeds not scoring in all this good nice fixtures. So it's a fixture based. It's either him or Harrison and so on. So yeah.
I mean, it's easy to be blinded by all the double game weeks because Leeds don't have a double game week currently, and I don't think they're in line to get a double game week in next game week or something either. But they have really good fixtures apart from that, so you shouldn't always be blinded by the double game week fixtures and look at some other potential players. So Rodrigo's a really good pick as well, I think. Moving on, I have another sort of out there pick, Mitoma. This is also simply because we already have a premium and we have a lot of expensive players, so I figured I should go with someone cheaper. Mitoma, it could also easily be McAllister, like we mentioned earlier. I think De Serbi has had some comments about asking McAllister if he wants to play like as a regular playmaker in midfield or play further up and be more involved in goals and stuff. If he starts playing more like towards the striker position as like an attacking mid, I think McAllister is the better pick because he's on penalties, he's on free kicks. But Mitoma has shown that he's a dependable guy on the left-hand side. He's been really good for Japan in the World Cup. He's been really good for Brighton, and I'm a huge fan of his as well. So I think he makes a lot of sense, and you can easily also bench him. But I think Liverpool at home is a decent fixture, as we discussed as well. So if you could potentially start him as well, that could also be good. So I think Mitoma is a really good pick. Kevin's next pick is Martin Ødegaard. Do you want to say anything else about Ødegaard, Kevin? He's been having an amazing season.
Yeah, I mean...
So, and it's always nice to hear you speak highly of Norwegian players, so I'm going to let you have the chance to do that.
He's just their metronome. He gets the team ticking. If he has a bad game, Arsenal tend to have a bad game. So, yeah, I think he's just been everything for them. He's really shown maturity way beyond his years, and I think it was a natural pick for captaincy. I think... he's been great. I would obviously lobby for Saka because I have Saka, but I just remembered the fact that Saka has 4 yellow cards, which is really, really, really risky to have him, considering the fact that at any given moment, especially against Spurs,
yeah, that's also
he could easily get a yellow card and get suspended.
He could easily get a yellow card, and that's also a point for Kane as well. Kane is also on 4 yellows, so that's also something you should be aware of with Kane. Yeah. That's sort of why people were put off by Kane after the World Cup break, and why it still went for him and got punished by selling him. But you should keep that in mind with both Saka and Kane.
Yeah, but Ødegaard is he's working his way up the pitch as well, in the sense of playing in a more advanced position. He's shooting more. He's getting the assists, and that's why people love him in FPL as well. But he's now finally finding that sort of spark in him to take more shots. So, yeah, I think he's a natural pick.
Yeah. Next pick, Kimo, you mentioned this is your pick as well, Martial, but you mentioned earlier with Kevin's team that you're still not 100% sure about him. Why did you eventually go and picking him in this wildcard squad anyway?
Because he loves to score against City, and he has a good history against City, and I don't see many players scoring at United right now other than Rashford and Martial. So he's playing double. He has a favor for the double fixtures. I mean, if I'm doing wildcard right now, I would fill my player with decent player who has double fixtures and good run after that. So Martial in that bracket, and it's not that expensive, easy to replace him to downgrade to Mitrovic or Danny Ings again.
Yeah.
So it's not like a super pick, but I think he likes to score against City somehow. So him and Rashford, and that is one of the reasons that pushed me to think of selling Foden, the frozen Foden, and buy Rashford.
Yeah,
For
sure.
So,
yeah, I think you make a good point there as well. Obviously, they haven't bought a striker, and both Cody Gakpo and Joao Felix, so who they've been linked with, have gone to different teams now. So
isn't it Weghorst?
yes, Wout Weghorst is looking likely, and that should solidify Marcel as the starting striker and Weghorst as like a backup option. But you should also keep that in mind with Marcel. He might not even play the hour. He's been subbed off pretty early. They have Garnacho as well, who needs playing time. They can play Rashford up front. So there's a couple things with Marcel, but I think like you, Kimo, that he's probably the third best striker apart from Haaland and Kane currently. But yeah, decent pick. Next one makes sense. Trippier, he should just be in every squad imaginable. Only reason I didn't pick him earlier is because I knew that the midfielders would be going away, so I needed to pick Mitoma just to fit him in. So yeah, Trippier just makes a whole lot of sense. He never blanks pretty much. So yeah, Trippier makes a lot of sense. Kevin, as the second goalkeeper, we all know we're going to have Ward as the backup goalkeeper, so you picked Sanchez here. Give me some more reasons for why Sanchez is a good pick. You already talked about Brighton and their fixtures, obviously. So
yeah, I kind of made fun of Brighton for conceding a lot of goals, but I still think that Sanchez has been a good goalkeeper for them. I think he's also just right place, right time, and especially with Darwin, who can't score to save his life. Yeah, I think it's not the worst shout. I think Chelsea have shown way too much inconsistency where Arrizabalaga in my own team, I'm starting to get a little bit like, I think Sanchez is just part of this Brighton team that's been on a bit of a revolution. And I think from the sounds of who De Serbi wants to buy in January, he also sounds like he wants to buy some defenders, which could only bolster Sanchez's chances.
Yeah. Obviously, he has a tough match in terms of not conceding against Liverpool, but like I said, we're going to have Ward as the second goalkeeper, spoilers, and he plays Nottingham Forest, so you can easily just bench him for Ward in this game week and then have his double game weeks and his good game weeks coming up as well. So
100%.
It makes a lot of sense to have him as a goalkeeper. Next pick, Kimo. Kimo yesterday was watching Newcastle. He saw Dan Burn score, and then he was just like, "Yep, Dan Burn, he's in my team." That's how that's how it happened, right? That's why you went with Burn over Botman.
No. That's
Such a liar.
Totally not correct. I actually choose him before he scores, and I told you, literally, I'm fed up of hearing Botman choice. It smells so internet and smells so Twitter. Really, I want to choose Dan Burn. And what I saw now actually is, if I saw some statistic before that, I would have chosen Fabian Schär. He has 1.08 expected goals involvement in the last 4 games and 3 big chances in total in the last 4 games. So yeah, I don't regret my pick, but I mean, like, he's 0.5 more expensive than Burn. But yeah, luckily he replied to me very quickly yesterday, and he said, "Okay, Kimo, I will score a goal for you." And he had like a pretty cool dance in the locker room. I don't know if you have seen it, guys, or not.
I've seen it before.
Yeah.
Dance, yeah.
What the fuck was that? it was bizarre.
Lanky fella, yeah. Nah, but like you said, there are other good defensive options for Newcastle as well, on top of Trippier. So doubling up on Newcastle defense is a good option. You can't really go wrong with it either. You have Botman, who's the cheaper one, who's been like the Twitter guy, as Kimo said. You have Burn, who's really tall and can score. He didn't score a tall type of goal yesterday. It was with his feet. Yeah. But yeah, obviously I was joking with Burn because it was just funny that Kimo picked him because Botman was too trendy, and then all of a sudden Burn scores and everyone talks about Burn right after Kimo said it.
Hello, yeah.
before the podcast. Yeah. But yeah, Newcastle have a good defense, so doubling up on them makes a lot of sense. Don't have much money to spend for the rest of the team, so Rico Lewis, even though I told Kimo not to bring him in, personally, I think as like a final like bench option and having him this game week as well as a potential option, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
He's 3.9. He's been getting playing time lately as well. He's a better bet to get playing time than Cancelo currently, and he's like 3 million cheaper. So as someone who currently has Cancelo, I wish I had Lewis, but I'm probably not going to switch Cancelo to Lewis, but either way, Lewis is a good, cheap option. It makes sense. And then the final two options are just Bueno and Ward. They will always be the two last picks of our drafts. They're cheap and they play every match, and they have some decent game weeks now and then. So that makes sense. So that's the team in a whole. It's a 3-meme team, and also with Rashford, there are some really good mid-price, lower-price options. That's why you can go with a 3-meme with Kane, Haaland, and De Bruyne. I still think it's a really, really good team. It's really hard to see who you'd bench in this team, actually. Probably Mitoma and Bueno, and then either, I don't know, probably Burn or Odegaard. I don't know. It's hard to bench a third guy here.
Even though Mitoma can score easily against Liverpool.
Yeah, for sure. And Bueno can keep a clean sheet against West Ham. It's even
absolutely.
It's even a bench boost team. If,
the fact that he's gonna play against Alexander-Arnold gives me hope. But just one thing about Liverpool, I really think that their season is over. I think Klopp cannot do anything more with those type of players. I think they have done everything. He tried everything. He has done everything. He cannot do so much with the team.
You don't think Cody Gakpo will add anything?
I think he will immerse himself in the miserable status of the team right now. I don't think Liverpool is gonna make it to the Champions League. I think Klopp will have to go at some point. Nothing against his history or something. I think he has done everything. It's not working anymore.
Yeah. I mean, what they can do is convert their chances. If Darwin and Salah just start scoring, then they have a better chance of winning games. But they're conceding every time as well, so they're struggling. They're losing even.
That tells a lot. So. It's a team with 0 Liverpool players.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't have any Liverpool players, and that's because of form. That's because of they don't really have the game week fixtures, and they don't have really cheap players either. So yeah, it's just an amalgamation of all those 3 things. But yeah, I think it's a really good team. Personally, I wish this was my team, but that's not how it is because this is my current team and my current plans. Obviously, Trossard is in the starting lineup, but I'm either selling him or benching him. It just depends what I'm going to do. This is pretty much, as you can see, in my 2 potential moves. I know for sure that I'm going to get KDB. I'm almost sure I'm going to get Luke Shaw. It's just a matter of who I'm going to sell. So my first option, I sell Trossard and Cancelo and get in KDB and Shaw. And the other option, I sell Foden and James. So it's pretty much up to you guys. What do you think? Selling Trossard and Cancelo or selling Foden and James? It's pretty much Foden against Cancelo because James and Trossard are both injured. So Foden versus Cancelo. Kevin, what do you think? You made a case for Foden, obviously, rather than Cancelo. So is it a given that I should keep Foden and do option 1? It's a tough one. You can think about that if Kimo has a better idea. Kimo, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'll sell. Oh, fucking god!
Okay, let me put it this way, right?
James has to go. For me, I see it that way.
But Trossard has to go as well.
No, James is dead. Trossard is slightly injured.
Yes, because what I could...
Both of them has to go at some point. I'm going to sell both of them in the coming game weeks anyway, so it doesn't really matter, those guys.
Because Cancelo is very easily able to fight his way back into the starting 11. Personally, I believe so. We all know what he's capable of doing versus Southampton. Yeah, so I think you could... I mean, getting in KDB is such a foolproof thing to do. So, but do you really want to triple? Do you really want to have? Oh man, this is tough. I say
James.
Yeah,
I think it's not about James and Trossard. They're both going out anyway, and they're both going to be benched anyway. It's about Cancelo against Foden. Who's the better one this game week?
This is so tough.
Okay. Listen. In that case, I think I'll give the chance to Foden. He scored hat-trick against United.
Yes.
Pep said he might be crazy banana. So the higher ceiling for Foden is much higher than Cancelo.
Yeah,
particularly in those 2 games. That's it.
I think so too.
That's also what I'm leaning towards, the first option. I have that at the highest position because I think, and also in terms of midfielders compared to defenders, with defenders, you need them to play 60 minutes for them to be viable options.
Yes.
And if you consider both of these guys will play, let's say Cancelo and Foden both play 60 plus one match and play 30 minutes the second match. Cancelo with his 30 minutes is going to get 1 point.
Yeah.
Most likely. He's been offensively minded sometimes, but
Yeah,
most likely
100%.
1 point. Foden with 30 minutes, he could get a goal. He could get something.
Yeah, of course, 100%.
So that's sort of why I'm leaning towards Foden
just
rather
kidding.
than Cancelo. But I might do the double switch as well. That's the thing. If I do the first option now, Kevin, if I switch out Cancelo for Shaw and Trossard for KDB, do I then switch out Foden potentially for someone else? For Mahrez, for example? That's something I've been wondering
How
about
many?
as well.
So you have 2 free
2
transfers.
free transfers. So -4 to sell Foden for some other player? No or yes?
To
Who?
sell.
Rodrigo could be an option, for example. Kimo mentioned Rodrigo earlier. I could sell Foden for Rodrigo, but selling a double game week player for a single game week player just feels wrong.
Yeah, especially considering the fact that what you could do is get rid of
I could.
Trossard and James.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Trossard and James, and just keep me. Do you keep both Foden and Cancelo?
Anyways, I'm gonna have to ponder this. We'll get to your teams as well. You have some dilemmas, but before we do that, I just want to mention, because I'm the one, we talked about this right before the podcast about the triple captaincy potential for Haaland.
Yeah,
and we all figured out that I'm sort of the most likely to triple captain him. It's also sort of because I'm desperate, but it's also because I think the case for captaining Haaland is that we know that he'll be fit and available for the first match, and there's plenty of rest time for the second match. Haaland, surprisingly, everyone before the season thought, oh, he's going to get injury issues, he's going to get rotated to not get injured. He's been playing pretty much every week. He's had a couple injury issues right before the World Cup, but that's the thing. I don't know about Haaland's health and if it's going to hold up. If he's going to be available for double game week 34, if he's going to be available for double game week 23 or 26 or whatever it is, that's my issue with him. The case against Haaland is that he has tough matches, at least on paper. I mean, top 6 teams. Man United away, I think it's a tough fixture. I think it's going to be difficult for them to score, but saying that, he scored a hat-trick against Man United last time. They won 6-3. Man United have shown in big games the last few years that they can lose 5-0 to Liverpool. They can lose 6-3 to City. It's not out of the question for City to destroy them, and just they basically need to win now as well. And then Spurs at home. Spurs have been awful in big matches this season, and it's at home. But like I said earlier, Spurs have a pretty good record under Conte against City, so that's the case against him, I guess. But what you guys are not considering triple captaining Haaland? Why is that? Tell me why I shouldn't triple captain him.
I think it's a really 50-50 toss, simply because I've been telling you for weeks now, Haaland is the home warrior. He's not the road warrior that everyone was expecting him to be. Because
no, come on.
Like, he gets a goal normally away from home. He, like, the only times he scored a brace was once against West Ham. And like, there was this other match I can't from the top of me, but at home he gets a hat trick every single time, sort of thing. So, like, yes, against Spurs he can easily get a hat trick. Against United away he could easily get a goal. So you still get 4 goals there if that dream
I'd be
scenario
happy with that
happens.
if I have your triple captain.
Okay.
If he gets a brace against Spurs and a goal against, that's a hat trick still. So either way, I think it's a win-win. However, is there a more obvious thing down the road? That's where my dilemma is. Like, let's say he gets, like a, I haven't looked at the fixtures to even see if it's possible, but let's say he gets like a Everton at home and Southampton at home. He's gonna get like 8 goals in those 2 fixtures.
I think it's like Fulham and Bournemouth. I think it's like the best option.
And that's crazy.
He also has a double game week against Arsenal and Aston Villa coming up as well.
Yeah. And also, I think if you analyze the next double game week, which Aston Villa and Arsenal, I think you're gonna play both games. I don't think Pep is gonna rest him against
Of course
Arsenal,
not.
which is the nemesis of City right now.
Yeah, they're just
I
saying.
don't think City will rest, or like Pep will rest Haaland against Aston Villa game. It's still killing Pep that they were almost losing the Premier League last year because of Villa.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he will play both. I think City will go to, particularly to those two games with a lot of energy. The only thing is turning me off, not treble captaining Holland right now, is two things. As an expert of treble captaincy among the last few years, the one and also I'm the only one among you that I got 90 points from KDB last year as a treble captain, scoring 4 goals for me. I never had luck treble captaining someone as a first opportunity. It always failed, and I always like wait, and then I don't feel it. The gut feeling is nothing. But the second element of turning me off against triple captaining Holland in that game, I think City is slightly finding their performance back. They are struggling to be at the top right now. They are just almost winning, passing through all the difficult fixtures and busy Christmas until they are not on the top gear right now to say they're gonna win 4, they're gonna win 5. You know what I mean? So this is the only thing. They are not convincing 100% as a team who win 4 or 3, but they can win. You know what I mean? And I'm sure they're gonna win both games. Not as easy as we think. So yeah, why not delay it? It might be an opportunity, and all of a sudden you see it right now as there is Champions League games, there is FA Cup semi-final, blah blah, and you think, okay, you will play. Like last year, I think it was in April or something when I triple captained KDB and he played both games and they had like semi-final coming for the Champions League. Why not?
Yeah, I like you said as well, you never know what's going to happen. I think 2 seasons ago, all of a sudden, Bruno Fernandes, who was in the form of his life, had a triple game week towards the end of the season when most people had used their triple captain. So you never know. Like you said as well, Kimo, last season you got a lot of points from KDB, scoring 4 goals against Wolverhampton in a double game week 37, I think it was. Most people used the triple captain on Salah.
No, it was around 34, 33, something like that.
Yeah, most people used the triple captain on Salah, which was also profitable, but it wasn't as good
60.
as it wasn't as good as KDB, of course, as Kimos reminded us several times. But yeah, so like you said, that's sort of why I'm leaning towards not doing it. I think I'm like 20% going for it, 80% most likely. I'm just gonna have him as a single regular captain. So. But yeah, I think those are some good points for and against. It's he's going to play both matches most likely. That's the best case for him. The best case against him is, like Kimo said, you never know what's going to happen. There might be a much better opportunity down the road. And he's most likely, from this season so far, he's shown that he's gonna play and score. He's going to play for the most part, at least. So yeah. He's always a good triple captain option. I don't think anyone will triple captain someone other than Haaland this season, and there might be better opportunities down the road. We already know that he has a different double game week coming up as well, like you said, with Arsenal and Aston Villa. The only thing against, I guess, the game week against Arsenal, Aston Villa, you don't really need to use the bench boost, but for example, in game week 34, that might be the best option or best opportunity to use the bench boosts rather than doing the triple captain. And since you can't use both of them, you might want to do the triple captain before then or after then, depending on what happens. But yeah. Anyways, those are some points for and against Haaland. I'm leaning towards not doing it, and you guys are also leaning towards not doing it, I guess. So
I might do it.
Kevin might do another Sterling punt.
Yeah, I might do it simply because another thing that we have to think about are game week 23, is it?
Yeah, double game week against Arsenal and Aston Villa.
Champions League is not too far around the corner. Whilst with this, no Champions League to worry about. It's just to go for it. So
it'll also be further removed from the World Cup when Haaland obviously rested and all other players. Alvarez, for example, played until the final, so he's not in contention right now, but he might be more in contention towards the end of the season, especially considering 100%. How he did in the World Cup. So he might be more of an option to use against, for example, Aston Villa in that game week. So there are some cases to be made for triple captaining Haaland now, but there might be better options down the line than Haaland as well for Haaland. But yeah, that's enough Haaland triple captain. And my team personally, I still got to figure out if I want to do a third -4 move as well. I might sell both Cancelo and Foden, or I might have to choose between them. I'm not going to have both of them, I'm pretty sure. And I'm going to get a KDB.
Enough about your team.
Enough about my team. It's fine. Let's move on to Kevin's team. Before I let Kevin speak, I'm just going to mention the second potential move here is my own suggestion for Kevin. Getting Mitoma, who I've been talking about earlier, getting Shaw. I think you need more money to invest in your defense.
It looks so red.
But you have some different options. Patterson should be red as well. He's injured for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kevin, what are your thoughts for this game week, and why are you leaning towards the Rodrigo Kane move personally?
I simply think that the Arsenal game is like Kane, the meme of the guy behind the tree sort of thing. Like, I just think Kane is just absolutely ready to destroy Arsenal one final time, considering the fact that he's rumored for moves to Bayern Munich and very recently Real Madrid as well as a Benzema replacement. So it'd be, and also obviously he's rumored to go to Man United.
He's going to end up
of
at
course.
Man United. That's my.
I personally think he's not going to want to move abroad when he has so close to record-breaking stuff. So yeah, 100%. But it'd be interesting to see if he ends up going abroad. But yeah, I think Kane, just for me, you got to back him when he's in form. So and because he has a double game week, City, like we said, I still think City are going to absolutely batter Spurs at home. But I could see Kane getting a random goal there. I do think that Kane's going to definitely score against Arsenal, especially considering the fact that Arsenal have been playing so well and stuff like that. I know that's getting under the skin of the Spurs players who obviously believe that they're better and all this type of stuff too. So for me, Kane feels like such a obvious move simply because Darwin's pissed me off since I got him. And the only reason I got Darwin is because everyone ever was planning on getting him. So that's why I felt like I had to get him. Should have gotten 6 goals against Aston Villa and all this type of stuff too. So I'm sick and tired of him. Rodrigo just is a bit of a punt, and it also just lines up kind of perfectly that he could be someone that I bench because Aston Villa away could be a good game for Aston Villa. So, then I'd start Martial, Haaland, and Kane, and then bench Rodrigo, and then have Rodrigo for the really good fixtures that come up afterwards. It's just a question of what the hell I should do, considering Sterling got injured for like 7 years, Patterson's out for 2 years, and then I have Bueno, who I could easily start over Malacia, but I think Malacia might get to play the Crystal Palace game, for example, because he is Ten Hag really likes him and wants to get him going. So, and he's been playing at center back as well, which is a very weird position because he's been a left back his entire life. So, but other than that, I mean, definitely open to suggestions because I still have no idea what I want to do. A part of me wants to bring Foden in just because I've been backing him this entire thing. A part of me wants to get rid of Salah to get in KDB as well, just because KDB is one of those players that he likes to turn up in the most random way, and what better to do that than against United or against Spurs. He's been heavily criticized as of late, and what is it, like 6 points? Is that what he got since returning back to the Premier League after the World Cup? I think he has like a really, really bad statistic. So it feels like the right time to bring him in because it's such a KDB thing to do that when he's been playing really poorly, he just all of a sudden switches on.
I think
would
also
Malacia play or not?
He's gonna play. I think he'll be playing one of the games. I don't think.
Why not two? Why not two?
I just think against City they're gonna have a more. They won't. They're not as willing to experiment. Whilst Pep is lying, out of his skin saying stuff like, I'm going to do something ridiculous.
Mm.
I don't think he will. I know for sure Ten Hag wants to play because Diego Dalot got taken off as a precaution just because they want him to start. And Luke Shaw can't be benched.
You're not. I think I would go for number one. I would have Kane.
Yeah.
I would have Kane and Rodrigo and not sell Malacia for sure. Just like super unnecessary for now.
Yeah.
And hope that Shaw doesn't do really well.
Yeah.
And I think so. You can also pray that Salah score more goals more points than you think he would do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sell Salah for KDB. I don't think so.
Yeah, and I think I feel justified in Salah because if you look back to a lot of the Salah chances and things, like he should have scored and assisted in almost every game.
He's hungry. I know he's hungry.
So hungry. Like I feel justified in having Salah's haul than anything that I've seen of KDB since the restart. And KDB at the World Cup, to be completely honest. I thought he looked terrible.
Yeah.
But this is the only thing that scares me. The minute things look bad for KDB is when he all of a sudden gets a hat trick and does crazy stuff. So it's that fear of missing out.
I think also if you really set on getting Kane, you can obviously do the other option, that my suggested option, with rather than doing Salah to KDB, you can still do Darwin to Kane with that option as well.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think Malacia will play either of the matches from start. I think Shaw is nailed on one side, and then either Dalot or Wan-Bissaka nailed on the other side. And then the reason that they've been playing with Malacia is because Lisandro Martinez was playing with Argentina all the way, and they've been struggling with injuries. Varane was playing all the way, so they haven't really had that many centre-back options. But now their centre-backs are coming back into fitness, and I don't think they'll play with the three full-backs again. So I think Malacia will not play from start in either of the matches. I think there's at least a pretty big chance that he's going to get a 1-pointer or a 2-pointer in these two games put together for my liking. That's why I suggested upgrading him to Shaw, who will start both matches for sure. And also you can still do the Darwin to Kane move rather than Salah to KDB if you want to do that. So you could mix up the two potential suggestions as well and have both. But I know both of you guys really want Rodrigo, so that also makes sense. I'm not sure if you can do Sterling, Rodrigo, Darwin, Kane, and Malacia to Shaw. I haven't. Oh, didn't we do the math on that actually, Kevin? And you can't bring in Shaw, but you can bring in Ake, I think, rather than doing that.
What's Shaw's price again? 5.1. I'm 0.1 away.
Yeah, exactly. So you have 5.0, so you can bring in Ake for 5.0 rather than Shaw if you do the top option, but you can also switch Malacia to Ake. So I think, but that would be a -8 for you since you only have one free transfer. So maybe you should just stick to the two transfers. I don't know. Maybe you should just back Malacia. But
yeah, I mean, otherwise West Ham are pure hot garbage, so I could just start Bueno.
Could start Bueno as well, so that's another decent option.
Because a lot of my hits, like for example, I went -4 to get Malacia and Sterling, which amounted to 2 points. So yeah.
Let's move on to Kimo's team. Kimo's getting tired, so he needs to talk about his own team as well.
No, I'm not getting tired. I'm really enjoying the comeback. It's just like fantastic to discuss FPL again in details.
Yeah,
absolutely. I just need to come closer to the screen and look at my lovely miserable team.
Just to note, Kimo, you already done 2 transfers. Did them yesterday. Trossard to Almiron and James to Shaw.
I have done in front of your eyes, and I had really no clue what to do when I opened my team. It's just like most of the teams would use that. Who do I want to add as a value to my team? But I used the methodology of who to get rid of, and I never really like to play FPL as of like, I have so many problems in my team. I want to get rid of this and this and this, because that doesn't give you the space to be creative. And if you look at who did I bought already, is 2 players who are with most of the teams. It will not give me any advantage, will not make any difference. But in order to have a strong comeback in the second part of the season, as I usually do, is to not to be stubborn. Number one, have at least like a solid good team that will make you or like guarantee you a good points on an average on the next few weeks, and then try to take it from there and be creative and take some punts and so on. So this is what I'm trying to do, and this is why I'm sorry the mic was a bit far. That's why.
No worries.
Yeah, so my transfers were not creative. There is a reason for it. I had James was injured, Trossard was not playing. I really needed a replacement. Probably I was in a rush to bring Almiron, but I saw the fixtures they are having. They're having Fulham, and then the next one is Crystal Palace, and the next one is, I think it is against West Ham. So they can score all those 3 games. And in my mind, who is going to score if Newcastle scores? I think, stop being stubborn, Kimo, Almiron is going to be involved. That's why I find, even though I swore to God to all my friends in Egypt that I would never buy Almiron, they're going to make fun of me. They're going to kill me for that. But I think you reminded me that I could have afforded Rashford, right?
Yeah, you could have. To be fair, you were here when you did the transfers yesterday, and you were about to do all these 4 transfers actually yesterday. But I thought I just said Man United haven't played yet, so you should probably wait with the transfers. You still made the short transfer, but
I think
so you can still do all 4 transfers. Obviously Rodrigo has been a point of contention throughout this whole podcast. I think personally I'd just do the Foden to Rashford move and just stay with that. I don't feel like you need to push Rodrigo in. And who would you bench if you get Rodrigo in for Andreas? That's the other option. You would bench Mitrovic, I guess.
Yeah.
You could do that. I don't feel like Rodrigo is worth 4 more points compared to Mitrovic this week.
My hope is not to get disappointed with Foden. It's so tricky. It's either I feel it that way. It's either that I do Rashford to Foden, I get rewarded, and not to miss all the points of many people who has Rashford, and hope from God that Martial scores as well, so I can get like the beauty of doubling up on United.
Yeah.
Or being patient and hoping that Foden will play and will get some points on there. I don't think this is going to be the case. And I hate the feeling of being so slow and like knowing that Foden didn't play. And then, you know what I mean? Just like, I think I'm going to feel that in Cancelo. It's coming. The next one to get rid of for me is Cancelo.
Yeah, because you're sticking with Cancelo because he's not one of your potential moves away.
I mean, if I'm selling Cancelo, I think that the ceiling of the point of bringing in a midfielder instead of a midfielder who's not playing is much more rewarding than bringing over a defender. I look at it that way. I think the priority for me is a midfielder and forward than a defender. It's always like this.
Yeah, I mean,
I would have never sold James.
Yeah, I get that point with going with midfielders rather than defenders for -4s, but it's just in terms of your team that it's easier to keep Mitrovic. Because if you bring in Rodrigo, you have to bench someone. You can't bench a defender because you need to play 3 defenders.
Correct.
So I think to do a -4, I don't know. It's so hard with Cancelo.
I think I might most probably would think deeply about the Foden Rashford move and hope that Rashford will score. I'll just have to think about it, but I really, really cannot be tolerant to myself looking at Foden and Cancelo on the bench again and living with that. I would really regret it. It's a -4 with a guy who can score, with a guy who will play twice. So I will think deeply about that. So captain Haaland, no choice. Vice Salah, just in case. We'll see. That's me.
Yep. And that's pretty much all of us, unless Kevin has some... Kevin, I don't think you've actually made an input for Kimo, so you can actually do that before we wrap up. Do you have any tips, hints for Kimo, what he should do with his team? Considering you had 2 free transfers, Kimo, so you haven't gone minus so far, but you can go minus to bring in Rashford, for example, who's like one of the hot commodities at the moment. But
I think if I were you, I would go -4 for Rashford, simply because even if he doesn't score against City, which I think he will, I think the thing that people forget as well is that when Bruno and Rashford were on the pitch, Rashford took the pen. Rashford's now all of a sudden the pen taker as well. And people seem to forget that, yes, City is super scary, but Crystal Palace is 100% not.
Yeah.
Whilst, yes,
I disagree.
United are a spotty away team. I'll give you that. But Rashford's been the one to save their bacon and is just so informed that I don't think it's the end of the world if he went -4 for Rashford.
I know, but I'm just gonna look about the last fixtures between Palace and United. It's 1-0 to Palace, 1-0 to United, 0-0, 3-1 to Palace, 2-0 to United, 2-1 to Palace. Okay.
And to just counter all of that is just to say that Rashford has 14 points, 5 points, and 8 points. And the 5 points was him playing 45 minutes because
I know. As an individual, Rashford is no brainer. The thing is, it's the teams who are playing against. But Palace has been doing really, 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 really good against United in the last 6 games. Really, really good. Like surprisingly, a top.
Like I said, Zaha hates United, so it doesn't surprise me that Crystal Palace turn up. But all I'm saying is, do you back history or do you back form?
Yeah, because on current form, Man United are a much better team than they've been the last few seasons.
100%.
And Palace are a worse team than they've been the last few seasons. So I still think that's a pretty easy win for Man United. The fact that it's at Sellers Park might make a difference. Zaha might make a difference, but I think that's a really good fixture for Rashford. It's just a matter of Foden, because he can also all of a sudden explode. You never know with Foden. That's what happened. That's what happened with him again, Game Week 8. He hadn't really proved much before Game Week 8 this season, and then everyone did a wildcard, and a lot of people brought in Foden, and all of a sudden exploded. We know this with Foden. He can explode at any time if he gets the game time. So if he gets 30 minutes against Man United and scores, and then he starts against Spurs, he can score a couple goals in that match as well. So it is sort of a difficult conundrum.
Could you have not? Could he have not gone for Rashford instead of Almiron?
Exactly.
I could, but I don't know what was in my mind. I don't know what.
That's wild. Okay.
That's wild. I don't know how Mathias did.
I'll be completely honest. Almiron for me is still like given, considering his price and stuff.
It's the fear of missing out. I think I had enough. I wanted to be playing in a more not stubborn, as I said, and I wanted to start by covering all my stubbornness, and Almiron was the first choice. If you see the next fixture, he's not like
the next 4.
And as well Rashford is a player on the top of his form for the next four game weeks. The thing is, I hope that I get lucky that he does keep scoring at least 1 goal every 2 games or something. Yeah. And you have a few spots between Martial, Mitrovic, one in the defense to navigate and try to be too smart, as well as like captaincy used to be at that point of the season, that the captaincy that you have the option to play around, one on Salah, one on Haaland, one on Son, you know what I mean? But this is a bit tricky. That's why I've been stuck in the under the 1 million for so long, you know what I mean? Because everybody's captaining Haaland. Okay, fair enough. You don't have so many choices. But last year, I think I moved from 1 million to 100,000 in a very few weeks because everybody was captaining Salah. I was captaining Son. I captained Madison. You know what I mean? So we'll see. At least I hope that I'm starting in the correct way, and then I'll take it from. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna end up in a better place in the next 10 game weeks.
Yep. So that's it for this week's podcast. We'll be having another podcast a week from now, and we'll see what happened this game week, this double game week. Next podcast will be Wednesday, a week from now, like we always do. Back now that we're back on the regular schedule. Yeah. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm Maeftada, as you can see on the screen there, Maefteda. Kevin is at Kevin Isanka, and Kimo is at 13Kushi. You can see that on the screen. And you can follow us at FPL Scope on Twitter. And you can also follow us at FPL Scope on Instagram as well. And obviously, if you're watching on YouTube right now, you can subscribe. That would be much appreciated. You could like the video. You can comment as well. Do you want to triple captain Haaland? Do you want to bring in Mahrez? Any comment is approved by us, and I'll most likely read it and respond as well if you comment. And then the last thing you can do as well is joining our mini league. That is the league code on the screen there. It's 6IYV7U. So that's pretty much it from me. Any parting thoughts, Kevin?
I just hate fantasy football, man. Like, I just get depressed it is such a joy for me to deal with this depression with you guys, because you guys are lovely. Kimo not so much, because he's added to my depression with Sterling.
Starting again. It's excitement that the game is starting again.
No, I think if anything, I think everyone should be really excited, because the three of us are back. The original magic is back as well, and I think we're going to see a lot of fun things happening in the Premier League scope, and in the sense of like, just Premier League is back for full now. It's no more World Cup, no more anything like that. Yeah. So I think we're going to see some crazy things, just generally speaking, in the league, especially City Arsenal. That is one of the games I'm the most excited about. United Arsenal just a week from now as well. That could change the whole league if United end up winning that and all this type of stuff. And if Arsenal continue to win all these games, holy hell! Like, I think there's a lot to be excited about. Everything except maybe being an Everton and West Ham fan, because one of us is going to get relegated. If we both don't, we should have a big celebration.
Yeah, fair enough. Kimo, I'll let you have the last word, since you haven't been on this for quite a while.
No,
How was it being back?
Good to be back. Good feeling, smooth, and looking forward for the next week. And I hope Foden will not play, and City will win. So good to be back, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Thank you guys very much. See you next week. Bye-bye.